America, bonjour, hi, Canada, Hugh Hewitt on Wednesday, July the 7th, in the year of our Lord 2021. We begin with breaking news out of Haiti. Many of you I know have visited Haiti, probably in a missionary capacity. I know a lot of people who have repeatedly returned as youth groups or as adult workers to assist the people of Haiti. Before, during, and after the earthquake of a decade ago, the president of Haiti assassinated this morning. So there are reports on Reuters and the Daily Beast and others. His name is Juvenal Moise, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was elected in 2017, so I don't know if he was in re-election. There have been many disputes about his status, but always terrible to have an assassination of a head of state like that. And we will follow that story as it develops over the morning. In New York City, there is a mayor, Eric Adams. He is projected as the winner of the New York Democratic mayoral primary. He's not the new mayor. It's just overwhelmingly likely that he will be the mayor. And Eric Adams won by 1% after that crazy system, and there will be controversy for a long time. 50.5 to 49.5 over Ms. Garcia, who was similarly close over Ms. Wiley in the second round. So I expect recounts and recalls and all sorts of oodles of fun. And it's been 2 weeks, I think, since they voted there. Not surprising. Democrats run everything there. So we'll just see what happens thereafter. The biggest story of the day yesterday, as the rundown commences, the Pentagon announced that the enormous Jedi contract, estimated at least $10 billion, it would have been much more. Once they build a cloud for the Pentagon, national security is so tied into a cloud that operates and is secure, unlikely it would ever be rebid or replaced. It's not like a fighter. It's not like a ship. There's not going to be a next generation cloud. There is the cloud, and once it's done, it's done. And the people who built it and who secured it and who've been cleared to do so are no doubt going to stay in that. Microsoft had won the first contract. Amazon and Oracle immediately challenged. The litigation is ongoing. The Pentagon was winning, sort of, but it was just going to be an endless bit of litigation. They canceled the contract yesterday. Amazon went up $160 a share on the anticipation they will share in the spoils of this, as well as other technical reasons. In fact, I will do my first market report right now in order that you be brought up to speed on the fact that yesterday, and this is brought to you by Birch Gold. Visit hughgold.com or text my name, Hugh, to 474747. If you want to buy gold, and you should want to buy some gold because we're going to have inflation, and when you have inflation, you want to own gold. Gold went up to $1,797 yesterday as the 10-year Treasury dropped to 1.37%. So home buying is going to ratchet up again as interest rates on a 30-year mortgage went down. That means the price of homes are going to inflate, which means the cost of building a home is going to inflate, which means that gold is going to go up because inflation is gold's friend. And we are about to pass, I don't know, another $1 trillion. It depends on what they jam into reconciliation that the Democrats will do on their own. Yesterday, the Dow went down 208 and the NASDAQ went up 24. Amazon, as I mentioned to you, went up $163, I believe, on Tuesday. A share, which is almost 5% unheard of, $164.76 a share, almost unheard of jump of nearly 5%. With another good day anticipated, too early to say what will happen today to gold, to Amazon, or to anything. But when a big contract like this is canceled, the winners are those who had previously lost. Now, the Pentagon has declared there are at least 5 people who can compete for this. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Oracle. There's another one, IBM. In my view, they ought to simply make them, by terms of the contract, compete in teams of at least 2 and not more than 3 companies so as to make sure the infrastructure is reliable and redundant and secure, and give them a set time. This is, every other company in the world has adapted the cloud that needs the cloud, and the Pentagon, of course, is bidding it. So we've got to get moving on this thing. As the United States national interest comes forward, this would be a legacy for Joe Biden and Ron Klain and everyone over at the White House to get this done, Secretary Austin. Get it done and move. Go Manhattan Project. Go full on. New York Times reports the Taliban is trying to polish their image. Good luck with that. I've got 5 stories on the Jedi cancellation, and I've told you all you need to know about it. It's important, it's got to be done, and it's screwed up. Nicole Hannah-Jones, the controversial lead writer of the 1619 Project, has joined the Howard faculty, even though the University of North Carolina eventually offered her tenure. She chose Howard, upset with UNC Chapel Hill, her alma mater, and said she would not join the UNC faculty on CBS this morning, calling it a difficult decision and not a decision she wanted to make. The Pulitzer Prize winner said she believed the decision to tenure her at UNC was delayed because of political opposition to her work and discrimination against her as a black woman. I certainly think the former was a category. A couple of stories from over the weekend. Random shootings are always the worst sort. Every shooting death is a tragedy, but here we have a University of Chicago 20-year-old student riding the Green Line downtown for his summer internship. Max Solomon Lewis shot and killed on the subway. Here we have a golf pro in a Georgia country club who said, "What's that white pickup truck doing on my golf course?" Wandered into an active double murder and was himself murdered. Just stories like this make you realize life is very fragile, very short. Hug the people that you love. There is also an important story, one that really is decisive. I'm going to come back to it in the third segment today and maybe the second. Good news, the weddings are back on. Bad news, you have to go to all of them. No, you don't. You don't have to go to all of them. Send them, you know what, go to birchgold at hughgold.com. Buy them a maple leaf. Buy them an American Eagle. Buy them a Krugerrand. Put it in an envelope and say, "Can't join you. This is what it would have cost us to come. Put this in your safety deposit box and give it to your grandkids." Who knows what it'll be worth by that point with the way the currency is going. hughgold.com. Finally, this morning, I have a piece in the Washington Post on the Supreme Court. It's in the print edition. It's in the online edition. You get it no matter whether you get the paper on your doorstep in the Beltway or anywhere in the United States that you're listening to me, from Hawaii to Florida, up into Canada, in fact. This is the last Supreme Court roundup that you're going to need to read right here. I'm holding it up if you're watching me on YouTube. Yesterday on the interview with Hugh Hewitt, my long-form podcast with Steve Vladek and Jonathan Adler, professors respectively at the University of Texas Law School and Case Western Reserve. Steve from the left, Jonathan from the right there, the Smart Guys 2.0. We had a long review of the term, and I mentioned that I was putting this in the paper today in the Post, and it's my conclusion in the term just completed. The U.S. Supreme Court took a gentle but decisive curve to the right, likely to be one of many such turns to come. The court has been remade since Antonin Scalia's death in 2016, and the prime architect was a Senate Republican leader, Mitch McConnell. McConnell with 3 assists from former President Donald Trump. McConnell made the decisive pivot by holding open the seat vacated by Scalia's death and then leading the confirmation of Trump's 3 Supreme Court nominees, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. The court and the military are the most important institutions of government for center-right voters in the country. The armed services protect from enemies outside, and the court holds back the behemoth of the federal government and protects liberties of individual citizens from all levels of government. And then I tick off decision after decision. Fulton and Roman Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn protecting free exercise. Brnovich in Arizona protecting the right of states to control their voting. Free speech upheld in Americans for Prosperity Foundation versus Bonta in California. Property rights upheld in Cedar Point Nursery. It was a decisive series of wins that has been much overlooked, much denied, much dismissed by critics on the left who don't want to admit that what McConnell has wrought is a reestablishment of constitutional order, and our hats are off to him for that. Read the column at thewashingtonpost.com or listen to the interview with Hugh Hewitt yesterday, the podcast available at Apple, Spotify, iTunes. Get this rundown, of course, also at the Hugh Hewitt Show, highly concentrated Hugh. And then come right back here. I'll tell you about the Talkers, the terrific Talkers tournament that we're having right now. If you register, whenever they put it up at my website, come have lunch with me in D.C. I'll talk to you shortly, America. Stay tuned. It's the Hugh Hewitt Show. Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. New York Post and Washington Examiner columnist Salena Zito is here. A little bit delayed. The Inzer report could not fall on Monday. It was a national holiday celebrating the 5th of July, delayed from the 4th of July. But Selena's back for the Inzer report. Good morning, Salena.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Now, you've written about Bourbon and Rumsfeld, which kind of go together, if you ask me. And I like both those columns, but I have a more important and pressing question. There's a story in the Washington Post this morning that the headline is good news, the weddings are back on, bad news, you have to go to all of them. Now, you might be Italian, right? So Italians kind of do weddings a different way than most people. Am I right?
Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know, probably.
Do the words over the top come to mind?
Yeah, we do everything over the top. Yeah,
Yeah, you've got a
true.
soup name for the wedding, for goodness sake. And you make it on Christmas. So everybody likes wedding soup. But I'm asking you, in your humble opinion, as an Italian American patriot who has raised children and gone to weddings and all the 9 yards, is the wedding stuff out of control in Pittsburgh too?
Well, not the weddings that I have gone to, but I know that you mean like people doing like the destination weddings and things like that? Like, you
No,
mean
I
that?
mean the bride's going away to a different city and the groomsman going away for a bachelor party somewhere other than Vegas. And then the general hoopla. This is the year where a lot of weddings got canceled. So the Post is covering
Yeah.
the rescheduling and wedding fatigue. And so I think it's out of control that people are going to all these weddings. I think they ought to just tell their friends no.
Yeah, that is true. There is a lot of that, and you know, I don't get the whole go away to a different city and the bachelor parties in different towns, the bachelorette parties in different towns, and all these sort of sub parties and these sub parties. It is way over the top. I mean, the most important thing, if you live anywhere between Pittsburgh and Youngstown, is if you have a good cookie table.
No,
Other
that's
than that,
I agree. But I understand the millennials want to do it. But I am also thinking you get to do one, maybe two a year. You can't. The Post has a guy who's been to 7 of these things, 7 weddings on the calendar, done or coming up this year. That's nuts.
that is absolutely excessive.
No, excuse me. He had 10, but 3 of these he's not going to. So he's doing 7 out of 10. And, I don't mind out of town weddings. I don't mind going away, driving somewhere. I just think that if you do 7 out of 10 weddings, you're crazy.
Yeah, that's absolutely nuts. First of all, you'd be broke.
He is. Mr. Tressler is broke. He complains about that. Although I wonder who's his financial planner.
And is there a budget in the financial planners for weddings? I mean, that's I guess the second thing. do you have to put a budget in your yearly budget for going to weddings?
Listen to this line. For some reason, of course, the mental burden of wedding attendance comes after the event. Through the pandemic has slowed in some parts of the country, a wedding could still turn into a super spreader event. But for many, the hardest part has been the expense. Santos, the founder of a beauty tech company, is limiting herself to 4 new dresses that she'll wear twice each. All right, how about one dress that you wear 8 times?
Yeah, that's insane. I can't even. Oh my God, I can't even imagine that. First of all, I would wear the same dress to all 8 weddings.
Of course you would. No one will care. No one will notice you're not the bride.
Yeah, absolutely. You aren't supposed to outdo everyone. You're supposed to be there in attendance to show respect and unity for their couple as they celebrate one of the most sacred sacraments that they're going to be part of. And it's not about going over the top. It's not about the dress. It's not about the hotel that you stay in or what you're going to be drinking. It's about this sacrament of marriage and how sacred that is.
Oh, you're so old for him. Yeah, that's very old school, Salena. I just always think on the occasion of stories like this that God's greatest gift to men was the blue blazer, because the blue blazer is ubiquitous and, honest to goodness, the uniform, although I have perfected, is a timeless choice. And I am so glad that, in all my years of television and public work that I did not have to wardrobe other than the uniform. And the wedding deal, 4 dresses worn twice. That's just crazy, Salena. I think you need to report on this in Yinzerland. Maybe Pittsburgh has remained an island of common sense.
Some things, again, it's about the cookie table here. But, the blue blazer is like the little black dress. You're absolutely
The little black
right.
dress?
It's so simple.
Salena Zito, always good to talk to you. Go read about bourbon and Rumsfeld, Salena Zito, or go to salenazito.com. I'm coming right back, America. Lots more ahead on today's Wednesday edition of the Hugh Hewitt Show. Hey, America, bonjour, hi, Canada. It's Wednesday, July the 7th. I'm inside the Beltway. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Now, either I have misspelled Jake Sherman or I have somehow missed my Punchbowl AM because it's not in my inbox this morning, Jake Sherman. So I'm going to have to rely on you to tell me what's going on.
Yeah, so listen, we're just, we're taking it a little bit easy this week. I'm finishing up the production right now because it's a congressional recess. Most of our audience is off, I would say, a good chunk of it. So we're taking advantage of that and taking it a little easy.
Oh, that's okay. So I haven't been gray listed. I haven't been shadow banned. I'm still part of the Punchbowl universe.
You are still part of the very much part of the Punchbowl universe here. We are just, we figured we could take a little bit of a break this week and take it a little bit slow.
Well, inquiring minds want to know what's in punchbowlnews.com every time you're on, Jake. So I'm going to leave it to you. What are you writing about? Because I told the people at the beginning of the show in the first hour, nothing's going on. And so I covered the Supreme Court. I covered the wedding story. I've done, I'm not doing hard news. There is an assassination maybe in Haiti, which I'll cover tomorrow, and the Microsoft contract being canceled at the Pentagon. There are a couple of bits of news, but it's high summer, so it's low news.
That's right. So here's what we wrote this morning. We wrote about President Joe Biden is going to Crystal Lake, Illinois today, which is the third trip that he's taken in the last couple weeks to swing districts or Republican districts. I find that interesting. Now, do I think that means something larger about his political popularity? I don't think that it means – I'm not convinced it means anything specifically. I just think that presidents tend to go to places where they are popular and where they have won. And this is the third place, in addition to La Crosse, Wisconsin, and Traverse City, Michigan, that Biden's going to a place that he has not won. So I find that interesting.
Well, I imagine they're trying to hold back the landslide next year in November, but it's a little bit early. Yesterday, I saw him promise to go door to door, send the feds door to door to get the vaccine out. And Jake, how do you think that'll work? Hi, I'm from the government. I want to give you a shot. You think you're going to do that?
Well, I was just talking to Dwayne about this. I hear your point. I think that they're not saying that they're coming around with needles. I think what he's saying is they're coming around to boost the boost the vaccine and to convince people to get it, which I think is a worthwhile experiment a worthwhile activity to get the vaccine.
Jake, let me press you on that. The last time you answered the door at Casa Sherman, was it a little bit warily?
I do answer the door warily always. That's just because I don't like human beings. So
that's it. Well, nobody does. This is America in 2021. Nobody likes anybody who comes to the door. It's kind of a different world, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, so listen. Unfortunately, in this country, we have a situation in which people are not getting vaccinated and are hesitant to get the vaccine. And I think the administration is trying to figure out ways to get the vaccine. I think various Republican politicians, Mitch McConnell has relied on a line where he says, somehow there's white Republican men who are not getting the vaccine, and take it from me, get the vaccine. And I've gotten the vaccine for polio. He said that he is a polio survivor. So, I don't know. I kind of think that I hear the concern about people knocking at the door. But, that's just I think they're trying to figure out ways to get it done. And I don't know if they're actually going to send people door to door, but I hear the hesitation there. I get that.
Let me give you a suggestion. I every day in every way I can, I encourage people to get a vaccine because I think it's crazy to gamble with life and death issues and with the members of your family who might get an asymptomatic transmission from you. So people need to get vaccinated or they're rolling the dice on their life. And I've got another friend in the hospital as we speak with COVID. Another one. I mean, I'm in double digits with friends, and I think he's recovering, and I'm glad to hear it. But I did lose a friend, and I've lost colleagues, and I just don't want it to happen. And so I encourage everyone. But I have not yet seen the president go in harm's way. For example, he's welcome on this show anytime to talk just about the vaccine. Anytime. I will accept the limit. I had Andy Slavin on with Lanhee Chen. All we did was talk about the vaccine. I'll throw in with that. I'll put up guardrails so he doesn't have to worry. He does not go in harm's way, Jake. So if he wants to make a dent, he ought to be out there on center-right media talking to the center-right population. I also think he needs to go back on with urban radio, because the number one demographic that is not getting the jab is the African-American community. That's number one. And so there are two, and number two is conservative rural America. The two ways to get to those two people are radio, urban, and talk. So until and unless he does both of those a lot, I'm not taking him seriously.
I hear you on that. This president, I will say this just as a broad, I couldn't speak to their strategy on this or on anything else, but my observation is he doesn't do a lot of interviews. He doesn't do a lot of one-on-one sit-down interviews. Obviously, Trump was the anomaly, right? He did a ton of one-on-one interviews over his 4 years in office, probably more in 4 years than any president does in 8 years, I would imagine. But Biden hasn't done that. I think Kamala Harris has done some of that, but obviously the vice president is not as powerful or as big as the president of the United States, so I get that.
And I, by the way, I believe in the public interest. You can find a half dozen center-right or real conservative talkers that will put guardrails on the interview. Obviously, he's not. Look, I had Senator Biden on years ago. He's a terrific guy to talk to, fun, combative in a fun way, just a good interview. He's not that anymore. So we'll put up guardrails, bumpers in the bowling alley, no gutter balls. But in the public interest, you ought to go out and try. And on the African-American urban radio side, they'll throw him softballs to get this out, Jake. They got him in a padded room.
I hear you on that. I mean, I'm not sure what their strategy is. I mean, I think that, and I think that they think, and I think they've said this before, that he might not be the best messenger on a lot of these things. So, I think they think there are better conduits than him. But the president of the United States, no matter who he is still a powerful.
Yeah, but they got it. I love Anthony Fauci. I saw him on with Chuck Todd this weekend, and it's beyond diminishing returns. It's a turnoff.
Well, because I think a lot of people just are when you hear from the same person over and over again.
Yeah, it's not a reflection on Dr. Fauci. He was great in the beginning, and you can only play the record so many times.
Agreed. I agree with that. I agree with that. Listen, I think that's the same with congressional leaders. I think that people get sick. I've heard people get sick of Republicans say Mitch McConnell's got to go. This one's got to go. I mean, I think that's just a function of public life. So yeah.
Well, I would encourage him to go find faith leaders and people like that. But Ron Klain can go do Meet the Press. The chief of staff can go talk to Meet the Press, and he's a very skilled combatant in the media wars. He can come on this show. He can do that, and people will write it up, and it will
I'm surprised
spread
he hasn't
word.
Come on this show.
I get along with Ron. He'll eventually show up. But right now, when they're trying to get people to get vaccinated, there are two places to go, urban. So let me talk to you a little bit, Jake, about the Supreme Court term. My column in the Post today is about the Supreme Court breaking up for the summer. It was a huge year of wins for the center-right, for originalism, for conservatives. I don't know if that got through. Do you think that got through? It was a huge win, and it's all on Mitch McConnell. He held open the Scalia seat. He got the 3 Trump nominees confirmed. It's his victory lap time.
I don't think anybody, and I think people who are involved in conservative judicial circles and who are involved in politics understand that the impact that he has had on the court. I don't think that everyday people understand that. I just simply don't. I think people see the Supreme Court as kind of this obtuse and far-off institution. And I think that it's tough to draw a straight line for most voters. I mean, not maybe there's a bunch of voters who make that connection. I don't think a ton of voters do, though. And I think that.
Oh, interesting, Jake. We really disagree on this. I think the pivotal 5% are Supreme Court motivated voters on the right. I don't know about the left. I've been doing this for 30 years, and this audience, and it's 6 million a week, this audience cares a lot about the court, and they vote. And I think Donald Trump won in 2016 because of McConnell keeping the Scalia seat open. 100% convicted on that. Last word to you.
Yeah, I think that's fair for some voters. I think we in the media make a lot of it, but I think perhaps people are more attuned than they've been before, just because of how public it's been the last couple of years.
So, have a good vacation. Are you going to take a week off?
I am not taking a week off. I might take a week off later this summer, but, Punchbowl readers need their news. So.
Oh, they do. I'm so glad to hear. It's just that you're a little bit late today. Okay, sleep in a bit, but I normally need it by 7 a.m. for the show, Jake. Honest to goodness, you're working for me. Don't forget. Jake Sherman and Punchbowl News, punchbowlnews.com. Don't go anywhere, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. I'll be right back. Lanhee Chen is an old friend of mine. Born on the 4th of July, Lanhee Chen joins me now. I think he's lost his mind. Lanhee, how are you?
I am doing well, Hugh. Always great to be with you.
Happy birthday on the 4th. There are very few people actually born on the 4th of July. You're one of them.
It's a great day to have a birthday. I really couldn't think of a better day to have a birthday on than the day we celebrate our country. So it's a wonderful day.
And then you went and you completely evidenced a loss of reality by declaring for controller in California. I salute your patriotism, your civic mindedness. Governor Romney and I both share a great esteem for your intelligence. Conservatives all over the country see you defending the cause. You're running in California, Lanhee. Why?
Well, I have been somebody I grew up in California. I grew up in Southern California. I live in California now. I look at what the state was when I was growing up here. I look at what it is now, and I realize that we can be doing so much better. And in particular, I look at the way we're handling these big problems we have in California, Hugh. And you understand this. We have a cost of living crisis. We have an economic crisis. We have a homelessness and housing crisis. All of these things, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've got a whole host of other issues that we deal with here in California. And unfortunately, we're not solving big problems here anymore. And so for me, part of this challenge is how can I get in there and help address these problems? How can I get there and help solve these problems? The Office of Controller is an interesting one. It's a wonky kind of office. Not a lot of people spend time thinking about it. But the controller is the chief fiscal officer, the chief financial officer of the state of California. And it's somebody who potentially can get in there and have impact on all of these different issues. And the impact can come through transparency, through helping taxpayers in California understand this is how your money is being spent or misspent. And these are the kinds of changes we need to make to improve how we're doing on these basic problems. So this is an office that excites me. I think it's a great opportunity to address these problems, and I'm excited for the race ahead.
Lanhee, so am I. And I'll give you a perfect example. In February, I attended a hearing on Skid Row in L.A. and about the homeless crisis in Los Angeles. And Judge Carter was presiding, and he kept asking, where did the money go? Because they passed a bond measure and a county bond measure and a city bond measure, and there were special taxes and assessments totaling over $1 billion that they really couldn't account for. No one could give an account. Is that something the controller would look into?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, first of all, the controller has the ability to look at any spending of state dollars, whether it happens at the state level or with a locality, a local agency. And we know that we have spent upwards of $50 billion trying to fight the homeless crisis over these last several years. And, I was in L.A. just recently in downtown Los Angeles, and it is heartbreaking to see how bad this problem has become. You have encampments on, both sides of the road, not that far away from major tourist attractions in downtown Los Angeles. We don't have any sense of where all this spending has gone. The controller can go in and basically audit any agency at any time for any reason, produce the results of that audit, recommend improvements. And this is the most important thing, Hugh. The controller can then say, you've got to get stuff done by a certain date. If you don't get it done by that date, then I am going to publicly call each of you out for failing to meet your obligation as a public official. That, to me, is the most exciting part of this, is being able to hold people accountable. We just haven't had that in Sacramento in a very long time.
Are you? Do you have authority if you win over CalPERS and their woke politics and their socially conscious but disastrous investment policies?
The controller actually has a seat on the board of both the California Pension Public Employee Retirement System, which is CalPERS, as well as the State Teacher Retirement System, which is CalSTRS. The controller sits on both boards and has a statutory seat. So the controller cannot be removed, even if they disagree with what you're trying to do in terms of creating more transparency, helping people understand better the shape these pension funds are in. You know, I think if most Californians realize that the shape these pension funds are in and just how big of a bill is coming due, they would be so much more concerned about these funds than most people recognize. And I think the controller has a very important role to play in terms of ensuring people understand, here's what's going on at these big pension funds, here's what you need to know, and here's why you should care.
So, Lonnie, this could be three in a row. The third one is the California State University system and the University of California system. Both of them are deeply in debt. Both of them have squandered billions. Both of them are terribly managed on many, many fronts. Does the controller have any role in either of those, or both?
Yeah, this is another example of where you have state spending that has not been looked after in the right way. These are, in many ways, the crown jewels of our national higher education system in the United States. We've got the University of California and the California State University system, which have provided opportunity to millions over the years. But unfortunately, here again, you have a lot of spending that has not been well accounted for, that has not been thought through. And the controller has the opportunity here again to show people, hey, here's what we're doing, here's why we should care about what we're doing, and here is the way to provoke change. You know, unfortunately, the controller can't go and change the law. The controller is not a lawmaker in that sense. That's the job of the state legislature, the job of the governor. But the controller can say, hey, ladies and gentlemen of the state of California, here is what's going on, here is why you should care about it, and again, here is why you should fight for change, and I will fight for change along with you.
Now, the California system is the so-called jungle primary. This is a November 2022 race. And so, actually, it's a June 2022 race. Or did they move it up to March? I don't know when the primary is.
It's June, but actually, Hugh, they're talking about moving it back because apparently they can't get redistricting done. So we'll see when it is, but at least for now, we think it's June of 2022.
So what is the campaign website? Because that means all the Republicans, the Democrats, the independents, the choose not to state get thrown into one pile, and voters have to find Lanhee Chen in the list and pick you come next June, we think. What's the website, Lanhee?
Yeah, so visit my website at chenforcalifornia.com, CHEN for California.com, and you can learn more about my campaign, what I'm trying to do. My ideas. You know, one of the things I felt very strongly about is let's actually put ideas out there for what we want to do. So we've got some ideas on ways the controller can make life in California better. So visit the website, check it out. And I plan to go all over the state, up to the North State, down to San Diego, spend time in Orange County and L.A., obviously here in the Bay Area, Central Valley, and make sure people understand that this is an important job that I hope that they will spend time to actually looking at who they're going to vote for. Because in California, there is oftentimes a reflexive kind of thing where, look, I'm just going to pick someone of a particular political party because that's what I'm used to doing. I'm going to go out and make the case that they should stop and think and vote for change.
Now, the recall is going to obscure 2022 for a while, no matter how it turns out. But you've got to raise money. What's it cost to run for controller in California?
It's an expensive state to run in because it's so big. There's so many voters. There's a lot of media markets. You got to raise a lot of money to reach a lot of different people. We're talking probably millions of dollars. But I'm confident that with the message that I have, we're going to be able to gain support from Republicans and Democrats and independents. I've been so gratified, Hugh, since the launch of the campaign. We've had people coming and saying, I'm going to chip in $10, $25. I'm going to chip in $5 a week so that I can help make this campaign a success. I can't tell you how gratifying, how heartwarming it is to have people buy into the vision that we're putting forward. And I hope more people will come visit the website and support us, because it is going to take a lot of resources for us to be successful. But I know we can get there. I know we can get across the finish line if we have this shared vision and we have a shared opportunity to do something really special here in California.
Chen, Chen, the number 4, California.com, Chen4California.com. Now, Lanhee, when I left California 5 years ago, and I'm a Virginian now, the local media, such as it was, the Los Angeles Times, the Sacramento Bee, was not merely pro-Democrat. They were anti-Republican. I mean, they were very down on the Republican Party. What are you going to do about that? I mean, there's talk radio. There are people out there like Prager and me we cover all of California. Every square inch of California is hearing this show at some time. And so other than talk radio, what are you going to do?
Well, first of all, Hugh, we miss you in California. We wish you'd come back, and hopefully we can create an environment where people want to come back again. They want to come here instead of people leaving the state. You know, last year more people left than came here, and it's a huge shame that that's the case. What I would say also is I think that my vision and what I want to do for the state, I don't find that it's a particularly partisan vision. You know, I talk to lots of Democrats because there's a ton of Democrats here in California. I talk to a lot of people who don't have a party preference, and I say, listen, here's the things I want to do. I want to give you some accountability and transparency. And they nod their heads, too. These aren't Republican issues. You know, good government is not unique to people who are conservative. And so I really feel like whether it's liberals or moderates or conservatives, they hear, okay, listen, I'm trying to bring some accountability. I want people to understand what their tax money is being spent for. I see a lot of nodding heads. Is it going to be a vision that everybody buys into? Maybe not. But I do think that whether, you know, someone has a certain political affiliation or another, my job is to make sure that they understand, here's what's happening with our books. I'm going to call these balls and strikes. And I think that's going to be compelling, even to people who, you know, maybe dyed-in-the-wool progressives. So we're going to work to get the message out on all sorts of different media. Already our launch has been very successful in terms of getting people to understand this is what I want to do. Here's the message. Here's why it's important. And, you know, we're going to keep riding this wave, and hopefully it'll take us all the way across the finish line.
Lonnie, very quickly, because I know you. I've worked with you for years, and the only thing I regret is never appearing on Meet the Press at the same time with you. There are two people are not allowed with the same views. But would you give the quick bio? The fetching Mrs. Hewitt and I have had the pleasure of meeting your wife, and I know about your kids. But would you tell people who you are and where you came from and all that good stuff in a minute or so?
Yeah, well, you know, my parents are immigrants from Taiwan. They moved to the United States because they wanted to create a better life for their family. I was born in North Carolina, moved to Southern California when I was very young, spent my formative years there, went to a public high school in a town called Rowland Heights, which is about 25 miles east of L.A. Then I went back east to Harvard, where I got my law degree, my college degree, a master's degree, and then a PhD. I spent way too long in school, but that helped to prepare me to understand and to fight our big public policy challenges. And I have been spending a career really thinking about big fiscal and financial policy issues, from saving Social Security to improving health care to making our economy stronger and better. This is where I've spent my time. I've advised 4 Republican presidential campaigns. I've served in a Republican presidential administration. I was also appointed by a Democrat to serve on a bipartisan and independent board that oversees Social Security. So I've had a lot of experience, Hugh, tackling these big public policy challenges. And I want to take that experience. I want to take the time that I've spent, not just in government, by the way, but building my own small business, helping entrepreneurs and investors, taking all of that experience and serving the people of California, helping them understand this is what we spend our tax dollars on, and here's how we can make it better.
Well, good luck to you, Lonnie. Keep coming back throughout the campaign. And if you're a listener, visit Chen, Chen, the number 4, California.com, Chen4California.com. Get involved. Lonnie is a breath of fresh air on the West Coast. Thank you, Lanhee. Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Thank you for joining me this morning. Josh Kraushaar is with the National Journal. You can follow him on Twitter at Hotline Josh. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Hugh.
I just had Lanhee Chen on, who has declared for the 2022 California Controllers race. And if any Republican can ever win again in California, it's probably Lanhee. What do you put the odds at that, though? It's still such a deep blue state.
Yeah, look, if there's any Republican that can compete in California, he's the kind of Republican that can do it. big-time, Mitt Romney advisor, teacher and professor at Stanford University at the Hoover Institution. Yeah, I mean, he's got a great profile. California's a very blue state. He's actually coming on my podcast this week to talk about his campaign. So I'll learn a little bit more about what his message is going to be. But look, California is a deep blue state, so any statewide challenge is going to be difficult for any Republican. But he does have the profile to make it interesting.
What is going to be unfortunate is that Comptroller has proven to be a springboard for Phil Angelides and others to higher office races. And the teachers' unions, and maybe the tribes, and certainly the prison guards, all of the big public employee unions and special interest in California will see that, and they may turn their big guns on him because there's nothing else to shoot at.
Yeah, I mean, fiscal discipline isn't exactly practiced very effectively in California. That's part of, I guess, the state treasurer job in California, but the comptroller kind of focuses on the budget, and there's been a lot of waste, but there are a lot of people who benefit from that excess spending. So it's a challenge. I mean, the question is there going to be any kind of backlash in California to one-party rule and not just one-party rule, but the Democratic Party in California has moved increasingly to the left as they amass more and more power. So the question is there going to be a backlash? Is there any check on that power? Chen is probably the best candidate to provide that check, to be the kind of Republican that the moderates can support.
I asked him about the L.A. homeless crisis because L.A. has voted billions of dollars in special assessments and bonds to take care of it, and it gets worse. He said $50 billion has been spent in California over the past decade on homelessness, and the problem has become systemic and endemic. And that is kind of the issue I would run on if I were anyone running in the recall. I'd run on homelessness. It just drives everybody crazy, and there is no even tentative solution in one part of the state, much less the whole state.
Yeah, see, one of the challenges is taking a position like a comptroller and making it relevant to the big issues that a lot of California voters are facing. You mentioned homelessness. That's an issue I'm sure he'll be talking about. But can you kind of talk about the budget or the notion of fiscal issues and kind of make it relevant to some of the issues that the big cities in California are facing with homelessness, crime? Is there a way to connect those two with the office itself?
I think it's 5 words, Josh. I'd love your reaction. Where did the money go? That's what the comptroller is all about. Where did the money go? And if he can make that his campaign, people wonder, where the hell did all that money go? That's why I left California. You pay an enormous geography tax in California, a geographic assessment that is staggering. And you look up and you go to downtown L.A. like I did in February, and you see basically zombie apocalypse. And you wonder, where did the money go?
Yeah, and there's a lot of inequality in the state of California. The rich get richer, and yet it's harder to make ends meet if you're in the middle class, if you're in the working class. So if you can connect that to corruption or poor choices in spending, I mean, it's a powerful message. And it's the type of message that can win over not just Republicans, but a lot of moderate Democrats.
I think it's mostly paralysis. I don't think it's corruption. I think it's paralysis and bureaucracy. But let me ask you quickly, Josh, do you think there's a chance Newsom succumbs? There is right now a third wave hitting India, a fourth wave hitting parts of the world. California is going to get the Delta variant everywhere. They may have to shut down again. If that happens, what happens to Newsom in the recall in September?
Well, I think his political standing has been bolstered by the fact that COVID is going away. And I know California does have a pretty high rate of vaccinations. So, I'm sort of skeptical that you're going to see any major wave. If there is a problem, surely it would hurt him politically. But look, I think the bigger issue for the recall election is that the Republicans don't have their act together in that recall. Caitlyn Jenner announced her campaign, hasn't really done a lot of campaign events, hasn't really even done a lot of media events, even with friendly outlets. The mayor of San Diego, former mayor Kevin Falconer, is the type of Republican like Lonnie Chen that actually has a message of executive competence, who actually won elections in a bluish city of San Diego, and yet he's been overlooked. He's been totally ignored because of Jenner's candidacy. So, I think California would have been an opportunity for at least Republicans to have a mess to reorient their message on that Lonnie Chen line. But with Jenner's campaign really taking up all the oxygen and being more of a circus show, really. I think it's deprived the Republicans in California of actually getting their act together.
I think Kevin Kline's getting in as well. I think that Mayor Faulconer is going to surge. Jenner's at low single digits.
Yeah,
I don't think. Yeah, I just think Faulconer, Kline, maybe another late entrant. We will wait and see. And we'll check back with you. Follow him at Hotline Josh. Follow me tomorrow, America. Thank you, Adam and Ben. Thank you, Harley and Dwayne. Thanks all of you for listening. I'm Hugh Hewitt. I'll be back tomorrow on the next Hugh Hewitt Show.